York City Comic Con. How you boys and girls doing? This is day 3 of Sci-Fi Wire's live stage, and we have people with us today. Welcome the cast and crew of Good Omens. We have Michael Sheen, we have John Hamm, we have director Douglas McKinnon, we have Miranda Richardson, some guy named Neil Gaiman in the corner, and a doctor, David Tennant. You might be familiar with some of them. Tell me, everybody, why is now the right time for Good Omens? What is about the world we're living in that makes it the perfect purchase for a show like this?
I think it's the fact that the doomsday clock is currently set at about 15 seconds to midnight. It makes doing something that may possibly be the funniest 6-hour drama about the end of the world and how we're all going to die very appropriate for right now.
Your work has been adapted quite a bit over the years. What was it about Good Omens that made you want to step front and center and be the showrunner of this?
Terry Pratchett. Thank you. I normally with my stuff, I'm very happy to write it, to make it, and then give it to people. And you know, you give a Coraline to Henry Selick, and he gives you back a masterpiece. And I'm very happy doing that. With this, Terry Pratchett and I looked for a writer. We couldn't find one. And then Terry asked me if I would do it. And if I would write the thing. We'd never done anything on our own. The idea was always that whatever we did it on our own. We did it together. And now I had to do it on my own. And that meant that I was carrying the responsibility of making something that Terry Pratchett would have been proud of, as well as something that I would have been proud of. And I was just really lucky in having these amazing co-conspirators in making that with me.
Everybody else, tell me what your Neil Gaiman origin story was. When was the first time you encountered either his work or his person, or how far back do you go with this man?
Well, I was 18, and I just left Wales, my home, a small town in Wales. Went off to London to go to drama school. And when I got there, a guy in my ear said, do you read comics? I said, not really. And he went, right, here we are. Watchmen, Swamp Thing, Hellblazer, Sandman. And I read Sandman, and it changed my world, changed my life, and eventually led to us becoming friends, and then eventually led to me being part of bringing this story. So I read the book at drama school in 1990 when it came out, became one of my favorite stories of all time. So this, you know, this has literally been a dream come true for me to be a part of bringing this to the screen.
Anybody else?
I feel very sad that leaving Doctor Who was a big thing, and I was very quite traumatic. And then I found out that the next season Neil Gaiman was going to be writing for it. I feel like that was a great sadness that I finally now get to put right by actually working with the man and getting to speak his words. So I feel like a near miss has been averted there.
On the other hand, I would say, for the record, that because Matt Smith had not yet been cast when I wrote my first draft, I did write the dialogue with your Doctor in mind. So
okay.
I was actually writing for you, even though I then sort of matted it as the seasons went on.
Okay, I'll take that. That makes it slightly easier to take.
You guys have all been involved in giant franchises, right? Like, what kind of math do you do mentally as actors to decide whether you're going to sign on to something that has a fan base, that has a following, that has a sort of pre-existence in the world beyond the first iteration?
I don't recall the giant franchise I was a part of.
I am expecting Baby Driver 2, sir.
I don't
Obviously,
think I'm
he's hoping there will be a Bat franchise one day.
I mean, well, it depends. So, for instance, Tron. Tron was one of my favorite films when I was growing up. It was probably the first time I ever went into a cinema and came out still thinking I was in that world. You know, it was one of those experiences. So being able to be in the next Tron was just like, I want to do that. Twilight was because my daughter, it was her favorite books, and I wanted to do something for her. So it sort of depends on that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, and Harry Potter, I came in on number 4, so I'd been able to see how brilliantly they brought the books to life and wanted to be part of it. Also working with the director I'd worked with before. And so that was a no-brainer, really, you know.
I think there are two sides to joining a sort of thing that, a known property. When you first get the offer, it's thrillingly exciting. You think, what, that thing? I get to be part of that amazing thing that everyone loves so much? And I've been very fortunate that that's happened to me a few times with Doctor Who, with the Marvel Universe, with this book, with Harry Potter. And the getting of, the sort of joining that club is thrilling. And then, as the months go by, and you start to meet the people for whose dreams you carry, the pressure starts to mount. So it moves from something that you're kind of just thrilled to be part of to then feeling the pressure of the responsibility and hoping that you don't crush everybody's dreams. And certainly in the run-up to this show coming out, so many people coming up and going, that book is the most important book in my entire life. Don't F it up. Well, so far it looks quite good. But now I've gone from the thrill of being part of it to the terror of destroying everyone's dreams. But I think we're doing okay.
What about this iteration of Good Omens will surprise longtime fans of the book?
What will surprise longtime fans of the book? Well, probably there are two big things that aren't in the book, in the TV series. The first of which is that Episode 3 is the history of Crowley and Aziraphale from the Garden of Eden until the present day. So you get to see how their relationship evolved and changed, how they became friends, the times they've fallen out. We got to go to Shakespeare's Globe Theatre in ancient Rome. We got to a 1940s spy drama with some of the League of Gentlemen in it. We got a 1969 Soho, and you even get to see Crowley's first meeting with Shadwell, when he is just young Lance Corporal Shadwell, fresh out of prison. So that kind of stuff is fun. But I also built in some things for people who think they know how the book ends. And you do know how the book ends, but if I did that ending, then the book story would end and you'd still have half an hour of television while people said goodbye to each other. So I decided to reconfigure things, and now there is a plot that ticks until the final second of the final episode.
And also a new, well, not a new character, but a character that has only been mentioned a little, that is now a fully fledged character.
And he is fully fledged in the sense that he has wings, and he is just behind us, is the Archangel Gabriel.
Here we are at a comic book convention, which feels like ground zero for people who collect things. What do you guys collect? What kind of thing do you feel the need to have all of?
I collect Doctor Who's. I've got 3 so far.
John, what do you got at home on a shelf?
I had a fairly extensive comic book collection when I was younger, and up to right around the end of college, that I successfully whittled down when I had to move all of my stuff out of my sister's basement, from about 6 or 8 crates to one very specific crate that now sits in my closet.
Is that all Batman comics?
Oh boy. Some of them are, yes.
Michael?
I mean, my copies of the Sandman do hold pride of place in my house. So I'm as much of a collector as everyone else here, but I just want to be out there wandering around, really.
I'm lightweight. I just have some Sleepy Hollow merch. It's pretty good.
I think I have a ridiculously huge comic collection and a ridiculously huge book collection. But the thing that really I feel like I have the most successful collection of, I only have 4, which is my kids. And it's the collection I'm proudest of.
Actually, something that bonds me and Neil together is that we have daughters who are sort of obsessed with Archie and Jughead comics. And so Neil very, very kindly donated a lot of his daughters' comics because she's a bit older than my daughter to my daughter. So that's a little sort of bond that we have as well.
Who gets the best dad award?
Well, Neil got the collecting children out comment first. I was going to go for that, but you know, he said it more eloquently than me. That's what happens when you hang out with Neil Gaiman. Yeah, I have to be slightly scrupulous. I can get into over fastidious collector mode very easily, so I have to keep stripping things away from myself and try not to obsess too much, or I would collect everything all the time.
Michael, I just had a quick question about a movie that I know is on the minds of everybody here. Frost Nixon. Can you explain to me why David
If
Frost...
the president does it, then it's not illegal. We learned that from Frost Nixon, didn't we?
Which is my question. Like, how often are all of you confronted with sort of new resonance to old work? Like, how often are you suddenly that is a real story in a way that it quite wasn't 4, 5, 6 years ago when that movie came out? How often are you guys confronted by that?
Confronted, sorry, I can't hear very well. Confronted.
New and old resonance.
Yeah,
Oh, I
the
see, right.
New resonance for old work.
I think if you're in genre fiction, it's relevant all the time. The old stories are the continuing stories. You know, we look to the gods and the goddesses, and we see ourselves, and maybe not how we would like to be, but where it goes wrong and what we have to do about it. I think that's why I like this stuff.
I went through yesterday with people asking me how it was that American Gods was more prescient about now and more relevant now than it was when I wrote it 18 years ago. I think partly because we live in interesting times, and partly because sometimes it's the function of artists and art to pick up on things that are going to happen a little bit before they do happen, and to bring them to people's attention, often as a warning, often ignored.
Hot damn, boys and girls, have you had a good time? This is the cast and crew of Good Omens. You made me think American Gods, you son of a bitch. Up next, Family Guy cast interview, Sci-Fi Wire.
Hi, I'm Jackie Jennings with Sci-Fi Wire. If you can't get enough of New York Comic Con, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel for news, interviews, cosplay, and so much more. What are you waiting for?